Last Tuesday, I was scrubbing a pot from 2 nights ago because I couldn't sleep. The rain had stopped, but my kitchen still smelled like wet dog and old coffee. My phone buzzed on the counter. A ringtone I disabled 18 years ago. A ringtone I only ever assigned to one number. A number that belonged to a flip phone buried in a box in my closet next to my daughter's baby teeth. That number was disconnected in 2006. I know because I called it every day for a year, just to hear the automated voice say the number you have dialed is not in service. But last Tuesday, it didn't say that. My screen lit up with her name, Emily. My daughter who died of meningitis when she was 6 years old. I stared at that phone like it was a snake in my living room. Then I answered. A voice on the other end said, "Mom, it's me. Don't freak out." And I swear to God, I smelled her shampoo for just 1 second. That's not a metaphor. That is the truth. Before that phone rang, I was just a woman who worked the night shift at a CVS pharmacy in a strip mall off Route 9. My name is Margaret, but everyone calls me Maggie. I live in a 2-bedroom ranch house in a suburb of Albany, New York. The siding is peeling. The gutters are full of maple seeds. I don't care. My husband Tom died of a heart attack in 2014 while he was eating a meatball sub in his pickup truck. The paramedics found him with marinara sauce on his shirt. That's not a joke. That's just how messy life is. Emily was our only kid. She was small and bossy, and she used to hide my car keys inside her dollhouse because she said I drove too fast. She wasn't wrong. When she got sick, I thought it was the flu, a fever, a stiff neck. Then she started saying the light hurt her eyes. I waited 2 days before taking her to the ER. 2 days. The doctor at Albany Med said if I had brought her 12 hours earlier, she might have survived. Those words live in my skull like a splinter I cannot remove. Tom never blamed me out loud, but he stopped holding my hand after the funeral. That's a kind of blame that doesn't need words. After Tom died, I lived alone. I ate frozen lasagna for dinner most nights. I watched crime shows with the volume low so I wouldn't disturb the neighbors who don't exist, because my nearest neighbor is a retired trucker named Bill who is deaf in one ear and doesn't care about noise. My sister Linda lives in Florida and calls me once a month to ask if I'm still alive. I tell her barely. She thinks I'm joking. I'm not. Then last year, the city announced a redevelopment plan. They wanted to buy my house for a new highway off-ramp. The offer was $300,000. That money was supposed to be my exit ramp. No knees. A reliable car. Maybe a trip to the ocean where I could just sit and watch the waves without thinking about hospital rooms. That's when my brother-in-law Mark entered the picture. Mark is Tom's younger brother. He sells used cars, or maybe timeshares, or maybe nothing at all. He's one of those guys who always smells like cologne and bad decisions. After Tom died, Mark started calling me every Sunday. "How you doing, Maggie? You need anything?" I thought he was being nice. That was my second mistake. The first was waiting 2 days to take Emily to the hospital. Nice is just a mask greedy people put on when they are hungry. Mark offered to help me with the redevelopment paperwork. He said it was too complicated for a woman living alone. He said those exact words. Too complicated for a woman living alone. I should have slammed the door in his face. Instead, I said okay because I was tired and lonely, and the kitchen faucet had been dripping for 3 months, and I couldn't figure out how to fix it. He came over every Tuesday with coffee from Dunkin'. He sat at my kitchen table and smiled, and called me sis just like Tom used to do. For 6 months, he was the perfect brother-in-law. He even fixed the faucet. That's how he got me. Not with threats. With a new washer for the kitchen sink. In October, he said I needed to sign some tax forms related to the property transfer. He put a paper in front of me. The font was tiny. He said it was a standard disclosure form required by the city. I signed it without reading it because Mark was family, and Mark fixed my faucet, and Mark brought me coffee every Tuesday. That paper was not a tax form. It was a quitclaim deed. I had signed over my entire house to him. The house my parents bought in 1978. The house where Emily learned to walk. The house where Tom died watching football. Mark had forged a witness signature. The witness was listed as Emily M. Harris. My dead daughter. He used her name to steal my home. And he did it with a smile and a medium caramel swirl coffee, no sugar. The first sign that Mark wasn't done destroying me came 2 weeks after the deed was recorded. My bank account showed a negative balance. I had $300 saved for my knee surgery. Suddenly, I owed the bank $4,000. Mark had taken out a personal loan in my name, using the house as collateral. He used my social security number, which he got from old tax returns Tom kept in a shoebox under the bed. I called him. He laughed. He said, "Maggie, you're old and confused. No one will believe you." He was right. I went to the police. The officer, a young guy named Deputy Collins, said this sounds like a civil matter. Civil matter. That's what they say when they don't want to do paperwork. I went to a lawyer. The lawyer wanted $5,000 upfront. I had negative $4,000. I went home and cried into a pillow so Bill, the deaf trucker, wouldn't hear me. A week later, the electricity went out. I called the power company. They said the account had been closed by the homeowner. The homeowner was Mark now. He had shut off my electricity to make me leave. I lived without power for 9 days in November. I ate cold soup from a can. I used my phone flashlight to find the bathroom. I slept under 3 blankets and a coat. On the 10th day, I walked to the library and used their computer to file a complaint with the state attorney general's office. That complaint is still pending. Nobody moves fast when you're poor and old and alone. Then came the letters. Mark started sending me letters in envelopes that looked official. He paid a printing shop to make them look like court documents. The letters said I was trespassing on his property and that he would evict me within 30 days. He typed them in all caps because he's the kind of person who thinks yelling in print is more convincing. I kept every letter in a shoebox under my bed next to Emily's flip phone. The worst night was December 12th. I remember the date because it was Emily's birthday. She would have been 24. I was sitting in the dark because Mark had turned off the power again after I paid a neighbor to reconnect it. Someone knocked on my door at 11 p.m. 3 loud knocks. Then a pause. Then 3 more. I looked through the peephole. It was a teenage girl. Maybe 17. Blonde hair, skinny. She was crying. I opened the door because I am stupid, or hopeful, or both. She said, "Are you Margaret Harris?" I said yes. She said, "My name is Chloe. Mark is my uncle. He told me to come here and pretend to be your dead daughter. He said if I scared you enough you would leave the house, and he could sell it faster. He paid me $200. I didn't want to do it. But my mom is in rehab, and I have no place to live." I looked at this girl. She had Emily's nose. The same little bump at the bridge. I said, "Come inside." She said, "Aren't you scared?" I said I haven't been scared since 2006. That's the year I learned that fear is just hope wearing a scary mask. We sat on my couch, which smells like cat pee from a stray that Tom brought home years ago. Chloe told me everything. Mark had bought Emily's old phone number from a data broker. That's a real thing. You can buy disconnected numbers for $50. He recorded a little girl's voice using his neighbor's kid. Then he set up a spoofed call so my phone would show Emily's name. It was all theater. A ghost story for profit. I didn't cry when she told me. I just held her hand and listened to her stomach growl. I made her scrambled eggs with a lighter and a cast iron skillet because I still had no power. She ate standing up. That's when I decided Mark would not win. Not because I was strong. Because I had eggs and a lighter and a girl who needed a place to sleep. The next morning, Chloe showed me something Mark had left in his truck by accident. A thumb drive. She had stolen it because she was tired of being used. On that drive were bank statements from 3 different accounts. Mark had been doing this for years. He would find elderly women with no family. He would befriend them. He would get them to sign papers. Then he would take their houses and leave them to rot in nursing homes or worse. I was not his first victim. I was just his easiest because I was already broken. But on that thumb drive, I also found something else. A birth certificate. A girl named Chloe Marie Donnelly. Date of birth matched Chloe's age. Mother's name was Donna Donnelly. Father's name was blank. But there was a note in the file. A note Mark had written to himself. Said Chloe is Tom's kid from a fling in the 90s. Keep her quiet. Use her for sympathy and documents. I read that note 3 times. Tom had a daughter. An affair before we were married. He never told me. He put that girl in foster care. Then he asked Mark to keep an eye on her. Mark kept an eye on her by using her as a prop for 2 decades. Chloe started shaking when I told her. She said I always wondered why my uncle visited me in foster care but never adopted me. Now I know. I wasn't family. I was a file. I didn't feel angry at Tom. He was dead. Anger at a dead man is just poison you drink yourself. But I felt something sharp and clean. A kind of focus I hadn't felt since Emily was alive, and I was fighting with the insurance company to cover her chemo. That focus had a name. It was called enough. I did not yell at Mark. I did not call him. I did not post on Facebook. I went silent. Greedy people like Mark need noise to survive. They need you to scream and cry and beg. Silence starves them. I started with the bank. I went to a different branch, not the one Mark used. I brought my ID and the quitclaim deed and the note from the thumb drive printed on paper. The branch manager, a woman named Denise with purple reading glasses, said this looks like elder abuse. She froze Mark's access to the loan he had taken in my name. Then she filed a suspicious activity report with the feds. That report is still working its way through the system, but it created a paper trail. Paper is patient. Paper will outlast any liar. Next, I found a pro bono legal clinic attached to the law school in Albany. A third-year student named Jamal took my case. He was 25 years old with acne and a nervous laugh. But he knew property law better than the fancy lawyer who wanted $5,000. Jamal said the forged signature of a deceased minor on a quitclaim deed is not just fraud. It's a felony in New York State. He said we could void the deed entirely if we could prove Mark made me sign it without reading it and used Emily's name as a witness. I gave him the shoebox, the letters, the call log from the spoof number, the recording Chloe had made of Mark bragging to his buddy at a bar. She recorded it on her phone. A 17-year-old foster kid was smarter than all the lawyers Mark could afford. Chloe moved in with me officially. We got the power back on because Jamal filed an emergency motion. The judge, a grumpy old guy named Kowalski, read the motion and signed an order within an hour. That night, Chloe and I ate frozen pizza with the lights on. She laughed at a commercial for carpet cleaner. I watched her laugh. I thought about Emily. I thought about how grief is just love with nowhere to go. Then I gave it somewhere to go. I taught Chloe how to sew a button. She taught me how to change the ringtone on my phone. That was our exchange. That was our family. We did not go to court right away. Jamal said we should wait. Let Mark get nervous. Let him make mistakes. He was right. Mark started calling my phone 20 times a day. Then 50 times. I changed my number. He showed up at my job at CVS. My manager, a kid named Tyler, who wears vape cartridges on a lanyard, called the cops. Mark was arrested for trespassing, but released the same day. He was getting desperate. Desperate people make bad decisions. On February 14th, he sent me a text from a burner phone. It said, "I will burn that house down with you inside it." I forwarded the text to Jamal. Jamal forwarded it to the sheriff. That text alone was enough for a restraining order and a charge of menacing. The hearing was on a Tuesday in March, the same day of the week Emily got sick. I wore a blue sweater. Chloe wore a clean hoodie. Mark showed up in a cheap suit and sunglasses like he was a movie villain. His lawyer was a tired man named Mr. Bernstein, who spent most of the hearing looking at his phone. Jamal presented the evidence in order. The quitclaim deed. A forgery report from a handwriting expert who charged nothing because he said this case made him angry. The phone logs. The recording of Mark's voice at the bar. The text message threatening to burn my house down. And finally, the birth certificate showing Chloe's relation to Tom. Judge Kowalski did not smile once. He read the quitclaim deed out loud. When he got to the witness signature Emily M. Harris, he stopped. He looked at Mark. He said, "Mr. Harris, was this child alive when you witnessed this document?" Mark said, "I don't recall. The judge said she died in 2006. This document was signed in 2023. Did you sign her name?" Mark didn't answer. The judge said, "I will take that as yes." The ruling took 7 minutes. The quitclaim deed was void. The house belonged to me. Mark owed me $20,000 for emotional distress and legal fees. The state attorney general would be opening a criminal investigation into real estate fraud. And Chloe Marie Donnelly was granted a court order to change her last name to Harris if she wanted. She wanted. She looked at me with wet eyes. I nodded. The judge asked Mark if he had anything to say. Mark opened his mouth. Then he closed it. For the first time in his life, he had nothing to sell. No story, no lie. Just a mouth full of silence. Outside the courthouse, the sky was gray. A man was selling hot dogs from a cart. I bought 2. Chloe and I sat on a bench and ate them without speaking. The mustard dripped on my sweater. I didn't care. A woman walked by pushing a stroller. The baby inside was crying. Chloe looked at the baby, then at me. She said, "Do you think Emily would have liked me?" I said, "Honey, Emily would have stolen your hair clips and blamed the dog. She would have loved you like a real sister, which means she would have been annoying and loyal in equal measure." Chloe laughed. Then she cried. Then she ate the rest of her hot dog. That's what healing looks like. It's not pretty. It's just a person eating a hot dog on a bench after winning a fight they didn't start. 6 months have passed since the hearing. Mark didn't go to prison. He sold his car dealership and moved to Florida to live with his girlfriend. I don't think about him anymore. Thinking about a man like Mark is like chewing on aluminum foil. It does nothing but hurt your teeth. Chloe graduates high school next spring. She wants to be an EMT. She says she wants to save people the way nobody saved Emily. I don't tell her that Emily was not her responsibility. Some lessons have to be learned alone. The city still wants to buy my house for the highway off-ramp. I said yes. $300,000. Enough to move to a smaller place near the bus line. Enough to pay for Chloe's community college. Enough to buy a new couch that doesn't smell like a stray cat. I put a down payment on a little duplex with a porch. I will paint the front door yellow. That was Emily's favorite color. Not because she said so. Because she always colored the sun yellow when other kids colored it orange. That's how I know. I still have the flip phone in the shoebox. The number is still disconnected. But one time, last month, I called it just to see. The automated voice said something different. It said the wireless customer you have called is not available. Not out of service. Not disconnected. Just not available. I like that better. Not available sounds like maybe she's just busy. Maybe she's brushing her hair. Maybe she's hiding my keys in a dollhouse. The moral is not that justice wins. Justice is slow and expensive, and sometimes it loses. The moral is that you are allowed to keep living after your heart gets buried. You are allowed to eat frozen pizza with a teenager who isn't yours. You are allowed to paint your door yellow, even if no one else understands why. The dead don't want you to join them. The dead want you to find one good thing. A hot dog. A ringtone. A girl who knocks on your door at 11 p.m. with a lie in her mouth and a hunger in her belly. You let her in. You make her eggs. That is how you win. Not by fighting. By cooking. If this real-life story hit you right in the chest, drop a like. And subscribe to her voices for more calm, emotional stories about regular people surviving crazy stuff. And hey, if you have a disconnected number in your phone, don't delete it. Some ghosts just want to say they're sorry. Take care of yourselves.